Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you. All right, here we are. Look at us. Look at us. What do you have right there, my friend?
Nick, it's an open bottle of wine.
Well, here's, okay, we're letting the cat out of the bag. Have we had a this was not a full glass of wine to get things started. It was just like a little cocktail weenie of wine. It's just a little mozzarella stick of wine.
We cheat, but we had some technical difficulties with the audio-visual department. So we needed a glass to get going. But
so Nick, here we go.
Opening pour, shall we?
Opening pour wine pod is underway. Big thank you to Go Currency for sponsoring the wine pod, making this possible. We are very excited to have them on board, and we're hoping, actually, I shouldn't say we're hoping, this is going to be a regular thing here. Yeah. So cheers to Go Currency and
the wine pod being official. I mean, this has been the dream for years. This is a part-time career. Just
this is good.
Drinking wine and talking to your best friend.
Talking about nothing here. Yeah. This is exciting. I don't know what this. So for Father's Day, have you heard of this? Where there's wine like filters that apparently they filter out I think they're called sulfates.
I mean, I've heard, so like the more sulfates in your wine, the worse it more. That's where so it's like it's something you stick in the wine, you pour it all out, and it goes through this filter system and apparently removes the sulfates. And it's supposed to get rid of your headache and any like allergies with it. I've done it a couple times. I can't decide if I have just bought 6 bottles. I'm not hungover.
I mean, that's why I haven't done it. I feel like you have to drink a whole bunch to really test it. My wife and I have done it. I wanted to do that tonight, but
so one of the things I heard about sulfates and the people that really know wine should correct us here.
Right.
I heard that that's what gives you the
hangovers,
but European wines don't have sulfates or something.
I don't know. I don't know.
They'll say it on the bottles if they have sulfates. Like this one contains sulfates.
So see, there you go. See, I remember when I first started boozing. So I didn't drink in high school, and then when I first started drinking at KU, I mean, of course, when you first start drinking, you have one like I'll have a cranberry vodka.
You were cranberry vodka
Taylor Swift city.
For 2 years, you were cranberry vodka.
No, what was terrible was I could never find the drink I liked.
What are you on your period?
This guy, get the fuck out of here. No, the drink that I found that I liked was a Long Island iced tea, which is like the worst thing you could possibly drink when you have no tolerance. So your boy would be hung over like a mug.
But you were also 20.
Yeah, and I'd wake up and go to practice at Kansas and be able to do my thing.
Yeah,
and
hangovers are relative in college.
Well, but what I'm saying is, I remember when I first started drinking, I was just like, how is there not? We have come so far in society and technology and science. Like, we've yet to really cure a hangover. Just like a legitimate, you booze, no hangover.
Somebody's working on it, right? People like drinking enough.
Peter McGilligan from the Drunk Irish Times.
The Drunk Irish Times are on the story.
There's word out of a science laboratory there trying to get rid of what we call hangovers. I say hangovers make you a man. This is Peter McGilligan from the Drunk Irish Times.
If there's a drunk man, we're on the story. But yeah, I think people are on. I've heard a lot of stories about there's all sorts of flavor. That's the big thing right now is flavors and beers and
I can't do that. The Trulies and stuff like that. I have one sip of beer, that's not bad. And then if you have half of a can, you boys just needs an Alka-Seltzer.
I've pretty much I'll do a whiskey once every so often, right? But mostly it's beer and wine.
Beer and wine. Baby.
I feel good. It just I crave it.
I feel the best after wine the next day in terms of best being relative. You're not feeling 100%, but you feel I don't feel it. If I drink beer or whiskey, I'll feel it.
I mean, beer and wine are equal to me kind of, but yeah, whiskey. If I have a couple whiskeys, next day I'm
I get so many people telling me, when are we going to do, we need to do a beer pod. If someone wants to give us some beer, we'll drink a little bit of beer. Yeah, or if there's a winery out there, any sort wants to throw us some wine, we'll do that too.
Yeah, a Midwest winery or Midwest brewery. That would be the
I'm down for that. I mean, it's not like we're anti drinking beer. We drink beer, but just wine is just so good. Okay, we got a lot of things to hit on. I did get some listeners to send in some mailbag questions. We'll get into that. We're going to get into a prediction for Nebraska and North Dakota. We're taping this. It's Wednesday night. It's almost 8:30. Peter McGilligan of the Drunk Irish Times has really taken off, which is fun with our last game recap pod. If you haven't gone and listened to it, it's on the podcast feed. Make sure you go and check that out. By the way, my wife listened to the recap pod. She was like, this was her quote. She goes, "It was funny. By the way, what's an onside kick?" And I was like,
what?
Would Courtney, does she know if you just said, what's an onside kick? Does she know what an onside kick is?
Oh, without watching the game and
just right now, like you go to her right now, give it just okay. So that shows like, wow, really? You don't know what an onside kick is?
But see, that's the weird thing about football. Football is a sport that, for whatever reason, I find like girls have a hard time.
There's a lot of things going on in a football. There's a lot of positions. There's a lot of terminology. There's a lot of situations. There's a lot with football.
And I think they struggle, like all the positions. Yeah. And like the concept of like line of scrimmage, which we take for granted, is like, yeah, duh, right? Like it's a line of scrimmage. They just don't even like, it doesn't make sense. Well, why can't they go forward or what? Like they're really struggling.
It really is.
Why these imaginary rules are followed.
Right.
Why don't they just.
No, you can't have that many people on the line. Well, why not? Well, you just can't. That's just the rules. Like
it's the line of scrimmage. Like
you can't. No, but and I would say
he's
women
ineligible.
He's ineligible to catch the ball. It's like ineligible. What are we talking about?
There's a lot of rules.
There is a ton. And there's just a lot of things. There's a pooch punt, an onside kick, a whatever. Like, I mean, you could go on and on and on and on. And so I just think more so than, not to say that there aren't like, in basketball, man, when they were running a lot of 2-3 zone, there was a lot of 3/4 court press. There was a lot of high ball screens.
There's flow, right? The flow changes the concepts of basketball, right? Like you can understand because you're like, I'm playing defense.
It's fairly straightforward.
It's straightforward and it's never stopping. Football, it's start, stop, strategy. Start, stop, strategy all the time. And I think that's hard for people that don't know football because there's so much strategy.
Well, why is it that you've seen, I even think Frost and the staff did it. They had like a ladies' night where like women could come in and like learn the game. You don't see a ladies' night for like baseball.
Ladies' night. And Frost is tight.
I don't know why they don't do that.
All they're doing is looking at Frost and being like, hey, Scott. Show me the tight end. Okay? That's the girl joke.
Nice guns. End. I know. But why you don't see a ladies' night for like basketball? Like Fred Hoiberg's not having a ladies' night for Husker hoops.
I think football has to be explained.
But that's just interesting. Like, is football that much more complicated?
It's more strategic. It's almost like war. Like there's a lot of correlation between football.
It's just land acquisition.
Yeah,
that's all. And that's all war is. Like this is my territory.
We
now.
Have to push.
Son of a bitch.
Like we're at the Somme. We're at the Somme in France. We're trying to take this much yards. That's why they use the terms like blitz. I mean, this comes out of the World War.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
but I laughed, and then I maybe was like, maybe it's when my wife was like, what's an onside kick? I was like, wow, really? But she's not like, homegirl doesn't know much about sports. I actually have talked about, we've never done this. When I first launched the pod, we were going to have a reoccurring bit where it was going to be sports trivia with my wife. And she was going to come on and we were going to ask her. I mean, it was basically like, the Stanley Cup is for what sport?
I mean, Nick, she'd miss them all. All of them. Especially under pressure, all of them.
Name 3. For a while, I would test her with this. Name 5 teams in the Big Ten. She'd be like, Texas Tech.
I convinced my wife that every week she'd be like, who's Nebraska playing? I'd be like, they're playing the Muskies. I kept saying this.
Why would you do that?
Because I wanted to just like, I give her the straight face, like, the Muskies. And she's like, no, they're not. You said that the other week. No, I'm like 2 weeks in a row. The Muskies. Just testing like how much is she actually paying?
I'm not going to throw one of my mom's friends under the bus, but one of my mom's friends asked, heading into this last week for Nebraska, so how good is Dublin?
Serious.
Thought Nebraska was going to go play Dublin.
Oh, man.
I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, it's just like, if you're a guy,
you're like,
your friends might disown you for that.
What, man?
What's wrong with you?
Talking about,
like,
man?
You'll lose friends over that comment.
Right.
Or you'll never hear the end of it.
No.
As a guy.
But yes. So, my wife. Yes. So she didn't know what was going on, but nevertheless.
Hey.
Okay. So with structure with this pod, we want to have some maybe wine themes, like the first pour, like the big topic. We have the refill in the middle, and then we're going to have tipsy predictions at the end, because there's going to be usually the midweek pod, and we're predicting for the weekend's game. So we're going to give a Nebraska and North Dakota prediction. I almost couldn't do it. We already did the first pour, but this is more like the leftovers I have some leftover thoughts from the weekend. Okay. I don't know if you real quick, have you had any
I went to the cabin for 3 days, and I tried to get away from
So you haven't been thinking about it?
A little bit, but not. I've been trying to sort of just be like, all right, we finished the last pod, and I said, it's the first game. It's a long season. So I was kind of trying to stuck because
it is a long season. Everybody needs to take a breath.
It was a long I literally for 24 hours. I think I just talked about it nonstop.
Well, because that's the thing about football. We wait so long, and there are so few games, and we're starving for the game, and we have a huge takeaway from the first game, good or bad. And because I guess we'll start with this. This is not what I wanted to go with, but thinking about like overreactions. I mean, I couldn't believe, because a lot of the talk is like, it's over for Frost. It's over. Pack his bags. Get him out of here. Bet online for a future bet. Will Frost be fired before the end of the season? -500. Yes. Which is like,
that's strong. That is
strong, crazy statement to me.
But
I think there's some people that think that is like, they would take -500. They'd be like, this is easy money. It is over.
Here's why I'd push back on them and tell them that's a bad bet, is because it's almost like they're thinking is, the fan consensus would determine his outcome. One guy determines whether he stays or goes, and the guy's name is Trev Alberts.
Right.
And Trev Alberts doesn't want to fire Scott Frost.
Right.
He doesn't want to. So that gives Scott Frost every opportunity to keep his job.
Right.
Right. So that's where that line, I think, is more of like a maybe
you're pandering to the fans or something,
like that are pissed off after a loss and the onside kick. Like, that's the emotional part of it. But if you're a true betting man, you're saying who's the guy that makes the decision? Trev Alberts. And what does Trev Alberts really want to do? He wants to keep him.
Yes.
So that means that, like, even though this was a rough week, that's not going to shape Trev Alberts' decision. The next 6-7 games, I think, are going to be the deciding factor. He's got 6 or 7 more, like, what I would call the easy part of the schedule. That's going to be Scott Frost's resume, is, when he gets through Oklahoma, and then it's Indiana,
I really think
Rutgers, Purdue,
yada,
Illinois, like, that's going to be the test.
Right.
Not necessarily
Northwestern over. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Shelve that, because we got a bunch of mailbag questions on that, and I have some thoughts. But okay, quick leftovers. Okay, we talked about this, but I want to just repeat it. This game, this opener, was not near as bad as the game at Illinois a year ago in how the team played and how they looked. Again, Nebraska was up 11 twice in the game, and if you remember, Nebraska was down 30-9. They were down 21 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter. Just to think, because people are correlating the two games. Like, Nebraska was like close to maybe like running away with the game, and they end up losing. This. Also, staying optimistic, and then I'll go a little pessimistic, I suppose. Mark Whipple in his press conference today threw out just some numbers that like really kind of like hit me and made me feel pretty good. Think about this. First 3 quarters for Nebraska. New offense, new coordinator, new quarterback, new running back, new receiver, like a lot of new. Through 3 quarters, 440 total yards, 28 points, 1 turnover that was kind of iffy.
I don't think it
was a turnover. They were good on third down. Now, there was a lot of third and shorts. They were like, it is 18 inches to go. Let's get out the ruler. 18 3/4, first down. Like there were a lot of close ones, right? But nevertheless, you're moving the chains. Why is that funny?
I don't know why you did this. I don't know why.
Okay, so one turnover. They're good on third down, and I didn't realize they didn't have a single offensive penalty.
That's the other part about this.
So Whipple right now is like Whipple. I was like, I want to marry you. I will marry you, Mark Whipple. Marry you right now.
Sometimes you just need somebody to tell you how it is. Like Mark Whipple's like, by the way, 440. Y'all don't know anything. We're like, we don't know anything, Mark Whipple. You're right. Thank you for correcting me.
I believe again, man. I went from
I just needed you to tell me.
He just was like, we just didn't finish. And I preached to the guys, we got to finish the game. And it's like, I went from like, I'd like to cast my vote for greatest offense in college football history for the 2022 Huskers. But that's like that's the beauty of coaches.
That's how you know. Like
I'm already sweating.
Me and you are pretty level-headed guys. I think.
Maybe not with Nebraska football, but like
no. But the point is, I think we are. But even us with Nebraska football, we're not. Like we get so wrapped up in it that one loss makes you just lose it. Like Mark Whipple came from somewhere else. He's like, am I seeing the same thing you're seeing? Like it's not, we're not in that much trouble. Like sometimes that's where, like I said on the last pod was, it took like 24 hours. I was better. Like you need to sometimes just calm down when you want it so bad as a fan, you get out of your mind basically.
And you again, there's a part of like you're starving for football, and there's this build up to that first game. And if it doesn't go, if Nebraska would have won 63-0, people would be overreacting maybe the other way, you know? So, but I just thought that was like 440 yards, 28 points, one turnover that was shaky, good on third down, no offensive penalties.
No turnover. I mean, no penalties.
Like that's pretty good.
Like that's the part. Two things. I thought our pass protection looked
a
mile better than I was expecting. And the ball kept coming out fast, like
Casey was killing that mug, wasn't he?
In rhythm, but it was out of his hands. He dropped back and the ball be out in rhythm on time quickly. And I have never seen that from a Nebraska passing attack. So I was, Nick, that's the first game with new guys and a new offense coordinator. Like you can't ask for more than that probably on the first game.
Right. So, and keep in mind, everybody was the jury was out on how the offense was going to look.
My biggest concerns on our three big concerns,
quarterback,
quarterback, receiver, offensive line,
right,
and they were better.
O-line pass protection. Casey Thompson was good, and receivers at least the two dudes were pretty good, and then so I don't know. I just thought I heard that and it made me feel better, and I wanted to share it with you so you would feel better, and thus everybody would feel better. Okay, so there you go. Now there are two other things. It is frustrating that the very first opportunity this is twofold, very first close game, very first opportunity, then for Casey Thompson, because there's a lot of people told themselves, including us, it was like Adrian just never came through in the clutch. If they just had a quarterback that could come through in the clutch. It's too bad that first opportunity Casey Thompson couldn't come through. I will say the final situation, 99 yards, no timeouts. And then Wyatt Lever,
his hands.
He got his Butterfinger game right. They're like, Lever, get in there. Put that Butterfinger down. Sorry, coach.
Wrong time to eat a butter sandwich.
Jeez, is that good? But so it's a tough spot. It's a tough spot for him.
I'll say this, though. The positive was he got us out of our end zone. Trey Palmer made a nice little getaway. Like the momentum was going. Did Casey throw it a little hard? Maybe.
It was a little hot.
But let me just tell you something. In the clutch, if it hits your hands as receivers, I don't care if it's a
Brett Favre fastball.
Yeah, like they shot out of a gun. Catch that thing.
Right.
So I don't think I felt bad about Thompson in that drive because he looked like he was confident.
Neither did I. I just was saying that like we've told ourselves this tale.
If he had taken us down, he would have been like legend status.
Oh yeah. I mean, but we told ourselves this tale, like just need a new quarterback, you can get a new outcome. It's not all his fault, simply pointing that out. It is frustrating because did you see the stat? Schick pointed this out. How dare Schick? He pulled some stuff from ESPN Stats and Info. But the first opportunity to win a close game, it doesn't go well for you. But how about this nugget? Before the onside kick, Nebraska had an 88% in-game win probability. This was the 7th time Nebraska lost a game under Scott Frost when it had at least an 80% chance to win at some point. And the 4th time in the last 9 games. 2018 at Northwestern, 97% chance of winning.
That was the ultimate one.
Yikes.com. 2021 Iowa, 95% chance of winning. That was up 21-6 at the end of the quarter. 2019 at Colorado, up 17-0 at half, and we're up like 2022 Northwestern. That was this last one. Yep. 2018. What year is it? 22. What year is it? Great Scott, it's 1985. 2018 Colorado. That was the first game, right? Yes. 2021 at Michigan State. That was only 86%. I would have thought that would have been like 99%.
Where we had the Kroenke?
Yeah, Kroenke was like, you want me to point it right or left? I prefer to point it left.
This one's called the boomerang. Whoops.
I'm going to start it right. It's got boomerang left. You guys got to cover both sides.
What if I did the boomerang? Well, I'll just do it.
He boomeranged it and cost us an 86% chance of winning.
Crikey.
On behalf of all of Hastings, Nebraska, crikey.
Crikey, Australian for Shank.
2021 Purdue, 80%. That was the one I wrote. At what point in that game did Nebraska have an 80% win probability? Purdue last year? Am I tripping?
No. Is it 2019?
2021, it says. Am I tripping? I'm not going to doubt ESPN stats and info.
We lost a lot.
It's on the internet. It has to be true. But nevertheless, it's just like, think about that though.
That I think is
crazy.
Like when we've sat here and talked about, it's hard to understand what's happened. I think that is what's the hard, like the games where it's like we are losing, where there's just seems like there's no way we should lose. Those are the ones that we really struggle to.
There are 3 that are in the 90s. 94%, 95%, 97%.
It's hard to do.
And so that's what people are, it's like, oh, Nebraska close. It's like, I mean, yeah, it's not just our opinion. It's like where we thought they were close. This is statistical win probability telling you it doesn't get much closer than that.
Yeah, like in-game, 3rd, 4th quarter stuff.
So how about that?
That's nuts.
Okay, a couple of things I want to pepper at you. One of the things I thought about in that first game is kind of like the issues, what's fixable and what is maybe not necessarily fixable, but doesn't mean the season has to be done. Like, there's sometimes like you're not going to be blessed with, Sue and Crick inside, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get gashed every play. You might have to get creative with different things. A couple I wrote down, the bus runs, the bus pass touchdown, the bus. You talked about communication, fixable.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, the communication, a lot of it is, I think, the secondary. I think the young secondary is they have a long way to go with figuring out how to, like, in the moment on the field, make quick decisions and make the right calls. Because it's underrated how big of a bust that was in the game. Like that was like a high school. No one's guarding the guy running straight down the field. Easy. We've never given up that easy of a touchdown in the Scott Frost era. Never. That was the easiest score, and we lost by 3 points. Right. And don't forget about in that moment, it was 14-3.
Right.
We're up 14-3. They don't have any confidence. We give them an easy, was it a 50-yard touchdown or something?
Yeah.
Right. And the quarterback's running down the field, pumping his fist, getting excited.
Right.
He goes on to have a great game. But that type of play is an unacceptable bust. It's one thing to be like, all right, you give up a few yards. Like you gave up a uncontested, touchdown. That's going to be what I'm going to be looking at, is that secondary. Can they communicate and be sound in that? Because that's controllable, but like it's also like they're new, and I'm yet to see them like talk it out.
I've always felt like at Creighton we would run a matchup zone.
Yeah.
And the most important people in the zone are the dudes in the back, because they see everything, and so they can talk and call stuff out. Is it the same thing for for the secondary in football. Now, usually I feel like your backers make a lot of the calls, but like that's not, between Deontay Williams, Dismuke, Cam Taylor, Britt, like you had JoJo even, you had a lot of experienced guys that have been together a lot where communication can kind of cover up for a lot of stuff.
I mean, we have 4 new starters.
Right.
No, I guess Newsome was a starter for a good chunk of the year. So Newsome's was been there, but the 3 guys are new.
Got a lot of new dudes back there. I'm just saying,
young,
like
new and young.
Right.
And, those guys last year, they weren't perfect, right? But they were good. And they just had played a lot of football together. They had been together for, I think, 3 or 4 years.
At least, yes.
And so I remember hearing about Williams and Dismuke being like, we don't have to talk to each other. We just we give each other a look, or we just know what the other guy's going to do. That's very underrated. It's underrated to just have that throughout a game where you don't have to think and you're making the right checks without having to talk sometimes, or like a look gives it, right? Where these young guys now are struggling to know what to do, let alone communicate to the other guy, here's what we're doing.
Or trust. It's not like trust.
I'm going to do my job. Are you going to do yours?
I don't have to. I know that you're going to take, the number 2 receiver or whatever. Like, I don't need to
yes.
Are you got him or no? Like you got to be not only is communication, it's trusting that the other guy knows their job and is going to do their job. You just do yours too.
It's funny. Caleb Tanner had a quote today about, we just got to do our job. And that's, that's the old joke from Belichick is, just to do your job. Right. So, but I think that's him talking to the rest of the defense. Like, look, we're not communicating and doing our jobs. Or we're, we don't trust. So that's telling that's that statement. JOB. If you're talking about JOB, that means people are not doing their JOB.
Right. So I think that's something that can get better. One thing, the tackling. Did you, in all of your playing career, did you feel like your worst, in something generalizing here, did you feel like you became a better tackler as the season progressed? Or is tackling something that gets better as the season goes along, or no? Because I feel like in camp too, the one thing, a lot of the rules have changed with how much you can hit and how much you're full padded up and all that stuff. And I also think Nebraska went hard in the other direction of maybe trying to keep guys fresh. Yeah. So maybe you're not tackling as much, but speak to that. Did you feel like you became a better tackler as the season progressed? I was hoping this was the case because I was going to be like, they're going to be great tacklers, man.
Nick, just for you, yes. No,
okay,
I don't know.
Or no. I mean, if that's not true, you don't have to pander to me. I'm just wondering.
Here's what
might shock you. You were my teammate at one point. I played defense. I did not become a better tackler. I was a bad tackler at the first game.
I have something to tell you.
Don't lie to me.
Our first year tackle football, Leon split. There was 2 teams, and we got put in different teams.
Yeah, they knew.
And our first ever scrimmage in pads, which is a big deal.
Oh, you're
in pads,
right?
And we're going to tackle for the first time.
Right.
I think it was my first carry.
I think it was.
I take the ball. I go off the right side, and somehow Nick Bach comes down from safety, and you clip me, the best tackle of your life to this day. Still.
Yes.
And you tackled me, and I couldn't believe
I couldn't either.
Me, basically.
I had like a TFL.
On me.
I couldn't believe it.
Took
you down, and I'm yet to, you would have thought that would have and that was the beginning of an illustrious career tackling.
No, that was the end of your career.
That was my best tackle I ever had, and I went and played because I stopped playing defensive back after my freshman year.
What came over you that day?
I don't know.
You came and stuck my
I think
ass?
You don't know what you don't know, so I was just like, you gotta just do it, man. I came downhill. I think there's also you don't know
you were like Mike Brown circa 1999.
I was
filling.
I think football is one of the sports. I think some people don't realize when you watch football, you don't realize the stuff you see, it hurts.
Oh yeah.
It hurts. Hammering a guy, taking on a block, trying to truck that stuff doesn't feel good. Yeah. So I think I had spent how old would we have been? 10, maybe 9?
This would have been 4th or 55th grade.
So whatever you are there, you're 10.
You're
10 or 11. Yeah. So I think I spent 10 years watching football and just being well, you just hit a guy. That's what you do. And I didn't realize that it was it kind of hurts, dog. But anyways.
But yeah, so
I digress.
Where were we?
Tackling, is it get better? Is it do? I'm trying to think of the poor tackling.
So
are they a poor tackling team? Because they haven't been. That's the thing with Frost is they have been good. They've been good.
To me, what I saw was, we just seemed like we were jittery. Like everybody was so amped up that easy plays became hard on defense.
Yep.
So I think I don't want to chalk the whole game up to just being first game jitters, but there was some of that, right? Just, we whiffed a couple tackles. We just didn't have our feet under us. The communication, that's not first game jitters. That's just like, I don't have experience and don't know what I'm doing. Whiffing tackles, like when Henrich whiffs a tackle, I think that guy made a lot of tackles last year. He had 100 tackles. He shouldn't whiff 3 or 4 tackles. I think he was just so geeked up. You just got to get your feet under you, right? Colton Feast, he missed a bunch of tackles. I think that's his first game.
Some guy in the secondary, I can't remember who it was, got broke off pretty good for a long.
I mean, it's the first game.
Kolarvik
was flying up. That's his first game. These are things that I think I'll chalk up to first game. You just don't feel comfortable yet.
Right.
You are just trying so hard to make a play. So
that makes sense. So
are we going to be better tacklers at the end of the year? I don't know, but I know that we'll settle down.
Okay.
We'll play football. Okay. We won't be like, shit, how do you play football?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. That's an answer that makes me feel
not everybody's Nick Bahe first tackle
in 4th grade.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the standard.
But you didn't progress.
Jason Peter was like, fellas, we need to tackle like Bahe. Leon's midget football. That's what needs to happen. He filled that run. Quick. It's funny when you head into a year, especially with all this new. Nice. You took that to the head, dog.
Baby.
You took that to the head.
What
you got, dog?
Weather
Jason Bourne? I don't know.
I'll weather the storm.
Oh, man, that's good. Okay. We have this. This is the first year we hadn't done our pre-pod or preseason, like 5 most important Huskers.
Yeah.
You have a thought of what that's going to be heading in. For instance, one year I had Omar Manning. It's like the 2nd most important Husker. Yeah. Let's just say not
Omar Manning did not play.
He did not play again. Come on, Omar. He practiced. So I think he's going to play this week, which is good. But I guess in the spirit of overreacting, after watching one game, if you had a top 5 dudes that are the most important Huskers, did one game alter that? Because I would say to jump in there I would say Vokalek jumped in. I'm not so sure he's not in my top 5 most important Huskers. Like Casey
I think that was Thompson, one of the Trey Palmer, Vokalek, Ty Robinson staying healthy, and
those are my 4. Let's see if you can have the 5th.
Teddy Prohaska 5.
I didn't have Teddy Pino ass down. I had Teddy Pino ass down. Coming up next on Cool 105.3, it's the latest Teddy P hit. I'm pulling. Watch yourself.
Oh, that's good. Oh, Teddy, pin your ass down.
And then it's a song called I'm Pulling. Watch it.
Oh, man.
Okay. I laughed too hard at my own jokes.
That was pretty good.
I got to work on that. No, I had, don't do that. I had Brian Buschini, the punter.
You're such a punter homer. You're such a punter homer.
Okay. You want shitty punting? Have fun going to no bowl game, bro.
I'll give you.
You want Boomerang back? I'll give him a call. You want me back? Heck, come back, pump for you. Who? Okay, so you Teddy Pino ass down. Teddy Pino ass down kind of had a rough go.
I'll get another punter in there if we lose Teddy P.
Okay, but either way, our 4 were the same though. Casey Thompson, quarterback, makes sense. Vokalek, like clearly,
when he went out, we felt
underrated.
Like the offense didn't function right because he can block, and he's just such a big target.
Right. One of the most underrated things in that game was Vokalek going out of the game. Everything changed.
Because Thompson, you can tell who he wants to. It's like Vokalek, Palmer.
Right. So
he's going to throw the ball to one of those 2 guys.
Thompson, Vokalek, Palmer, Ty Robinson, because of just how thin that D line is. That's Jason Peter Jr. needs to be able to get in there and do his thing, at least to some degree.
Exactly.
And then you went Teddy Pino ass down. I went Brian Buschini because I will always love punters. If you any
That's
other
the difference between me, like if I'm picking the first round, taking an offensive tackle. Nick's like, who's the best punter in college?
How about my boy from Northwestern? I got to watch some more of those games, see if that guy just had an out of body experience.
I think he's good.
Jiminy Christmas.
I think he's good.
Okay. Any other honorable mention guys?
Running back
Grant. I don't see. I'm not saying I don't see. I'm not saying that.
I don't know if he's our.
I don't see if there's a big. I think what you're getting at is like importance to each side of the ball, and is there a discernible drop off?
If they are out, what do we do? Because when don't know if I would have said Vokalek until I saw in the game Vokalek. Oh, he's that good, and when he's out,
the whole reason I had this topic.
We changed the whole.
I had no idea.
Changed.
I had no idea Vokalek was so high on my list.
I didn't either.
But I don't know if the Ty Robinson Muggs is thin. Feist. Devin Drew walked to Dublin. He was like, just got to Lincoln. I got to walk to Dublin.
He did get to Dublin. Okay.
He got to Dublin. He walked there. But there's thin on that line.
Yeah.
Teddy Peno ass down's probably pretty important.
Yeah. Teddy Peno ass. Poor Teddy. He's got a name now.
Teddy Peno ass down. I'm pulling. You better watch yourself. You talk about like, if you play that at last call at like a college party.
I'm pulling. You better watch yourself.
Man, that is good. But I just think I created that topic just to say like Vokalek, surprisingly important.
Yeah. I think it's weird. We didn't even talk about him that much going into the year, but like you saw immediately, like who's an NFL guy in her team. And he's like he's 1B probably. There's 1A, he's 1B.
Well, and it's not only his pass catching, his blocking too. Yeah. For an O-line that's a little, he can block.
Because he's freaking big.
He's a Vokalek. That's what he is.
He's the big Russian tree.
That's what he is. Okay. You want to go to the mailbag stuff? We got to hammer through this stuff.
Is that refill time then?
I think it is. Let me take this to the head.
To the head, boy.
Okay, here we go. To the Peno ass down.
Next on
Cool 105.3. It's the quiet storm.
All right. This
is
the refill. Mailbag.
Well, how about this? Quick timeout. Let's just do this now. Quick timeout. I got some great mailbag questions for you, so you're not going to miss this. Quick timeout to tell you about Go Currency. Does your business need easy, competitive financing for trucks or equipment? Currency is here to help. Currency specializes in finding the best available rates and terms for construction equipment, farm machinery, trucks, and trailers. In fact, customers can get loans for up to $500,000 with little or no money down in terms up to 72 months. That's amazing. Currency can also help if you're getting serious about buying a new or used motorhome, fifth wheel, or utility vehicle. Just fill out an application, and the Currency Finance team will get to work finding a lender with the most competitive options. It's quick, secure, and free to use. Currency is equipment financing made simple. Visit gocurrency.com for details. You ready for this? This is a legal disclaimer. Offers may vary and arranged by Express Tech Financing, LLC, DBA, currency pursuant, CFL, license 60, DBO-5 4873. Shouts out to Go Currency. Okay.
Nice. That's
you like that? That was good. Okay. Just a couple of things. We got a bunch of this stuff for mailbag. Allie said, will the Irish accents be present again? They were at the start of the pod. Brian Schwetzenow. How about Brian Schwetzenow?
Yes.
Our guy.
Oh, yeah.
Our guy. People don't know. We coach Brian Schwetzenow.
MVP.
Yeah, he was MVP, wasn't he?
The 2011
or 10?
2010.
Nebraska Bison runs a statewide freshman basketball tournament.
And they won.
And we coached them to a victory. In a related story, we had a lot of F-bombs on them. I didn't realize me and you were so like, you gotta take
We essentially didn't coach other than coaching effort and attitude.
By the way, to tie it into Huskers, our starting point guard, former Husker linebacker, Chris Webber. How about that? But Brian Schwetzenow says, can sources confirm if the lead editor of the Drunken Irish Times is going to make an appearance? You're talking about Peter McGilligan? And then Dan says, hey, boy, I got a question for you. Who was the Drunken Feller of the Week, and what did he do to claim the honor? So I don't know who the Drunken Irish Times Drunk of the Week is this week, but I'm not quite here. I'm sure they got plenty of candidates.
His name was Seamus McCoy, a former teammate of mine, and I'll tell you what, he had a heck of a week.
He stumbled into the wrong house for the 14th time this month.
And fired from his job twice.
2 fires, 14 miscues, heading on home. That's Seamus for you.
And he was the chief of police. That's the sad part about it.
Okay. Also, not going to answer this question. Got a bunch of these questions.
Okay.
Multiple people asked potential candidates for the next head coach if Frost is fired. We're not doing that. Take that crap elsewhere.
No, I don't want to go down.
I don't even want to go down that road. All right. I'm not even going down that road. We're not doing that. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
It's from Josh. Says, does a win versus Oklahoma reset any excitement that was felt pre-Northwestern? I'm going to rephrase this to you.
Good God. What is
my question is, which 3-1 record is better? 3-1 with the one loss being to Northwestern and you beat Oklahoma, or 3-1 with your one loss being to Oklahoma, but you beat Northwestern?
If you beat Oklahoma, the clouds part, the sun shines, everything makes sense again. And Scott Frost they'll sign how much
people. There's going to be a lot of people crunk if you beat the Sooners,
and they'll be ranked.
Oh yeah,
top 10.
I told you they play Utah and I think Kent State, so they're top 10 now. They play two teams they're going to be top 10.
If you can beat Oklahoma, 51 years after the game of the century, like. Trust me, it's not even close.
So
it's not even close. Northwestern, exactly. We haven't had a signature win in a decade plus. The signature win when it's it's Fox's big game.
Big noon kickoff. So their studio crew will be there. Yeah.
Like I remember we've had so many in a row where we've had college game day. I had college game day, USC in 2007. Yeah. We laid an egg. They came against Ohio State a couple years ago.
Justin Fields, Chase Young.
We've done that now. Yeah. I don't know how many times in a row, but we need a signature win, especially if it's a national game like that. It's not even close.
Side note, I work for Fox. I should be the celebrity picker. I know Rob Stone. They should bring me onto the set of Big Noon kickoff, and I should be the celebrity picker.
You should start.
I should start working on that right now. But there's no doubt. It feels like the sky's falling now. Watch them. If they win the next 2 weeks and go and beat Oklahoma, however horrific you feel now, you will feel like on top of the world.
You could lose to North Dakota. You could lose, you could lose the next 2 games if you beat Oklahoma. Everybody will lose their mind.
So, okay. So there's that. Josh asked a bunch of questions here. You mentioned the word signature win. He asked, does a bowl game 6-6 with no signature wins keep Frost?
Bowl game?
Yes. Yeah. So does a bowl game 6-6, no signature wins?
Going back to
I got a bunch of these kind of questions of how many wins does Frost need to have to save his job? I don't know. I mean,
Nick, remember?
I know. I don't want to be
Vegas odds.
Yeah, flippy floppy.
The guy is Trev Alberts. Trev Alberts sees bowl game. It lets him keep Scott Frost. That's going to be his mindset, in my opinion.
But what if the $64,000 question, the $1 million question, or the $7.5 million question is the buyout, I think, is you have to look discernibly better. Like Frost Trev has talked about that. We need to see progress.
Yep.
So there's that, it's why they stayed at 3-9. It's why Frost, if they go 3-9 and it looked terrible, he wouldn't have come back.
Yeah.
But it was 3-9, but they didn't look terrible. So there's that variable. But if the 6 wins, what if you're telling me he stays as the head coach? I'm just throwing this out there. I don't want to totally change my tune because I was bowl game. He's coming back. And I still feel like I'm there.
Yeah.
But if the 6 wins are North Dakota, Georgia Southern, Indiana, at Rutgers, Illinois, and let's say at Purdue.
Yeah.
He's back?
Yeah.
You think he's back?
6 wins, he's back. I mean, Nick, Trev Alberts does not want to fire Scott Frost.
I think I'm with you. I think he wants
does not. I know he doesn't want to. I mean, he just the fact that Scott's here this year means that Trev knows this is the best option for us is the new hires on offense. Frost going to the more CEO and let Nebraska, a guy that knows Nebraska and Frost, knows what this state wants and needs. And then we just need to have some good things happen and then move on from there.
That's what I've told.
We've never had something good happen.
You and I have been on the same page in this, where there's some people that Sip has been if I'm Frost, I'm telling the boys, we better get to 8 wins if we want to feel safe. And I've just never felt like that from the standpoint of Trev told you kind of without telling you, I'm not firing Frost unless it is painfully obvious.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. 6 wins probably brings him back.
I think 6 wins brings him back.
It does kind of feel like he's got to go beat. It feels like between
if he doesn't win a game in November, like if he loses the last 4 to the, let's call it the best teams on the schedule besides Oklahoma. If he doesn't look great and they lose the last 4 bad, okay, now we're in that brings, okay.
But that's that variable of what does it look like?
That's the variable that would be if we really lost bad the last 4. But to me, it's like, I just don't think the way that we've played the last few years is like, we play people close. So like, it's different than like, they blew us out for 4 straight games. Like we haven't had that for a couple years.
Agree. Next question, Devin. After week 0, what's the best case scenario and worst case scenario for this team in the next 11 games? It's kind of everything was kind of similar. I think the next 4 games shape everything. If Nebraska goes 4-0 in the next 4 games, meaning like then I think best case scenario they get 8 or 9 wins. And that would mean Nebraska beats Oklahoma, beats Indiana, beats North Dakota, beats Georgia Southern. It'd be you get your signature win. You finally have your first 3-game winning streak. This case, 4-game winning streak. But if Nebraska goes 2-2 or worse in the next 4 games, I think worst case scenario is like 3 or 4 wins.
I think the hard part about this season now, especially losing that first game, is now the outside pressure on the inside is increasing, right? Where like if you win this game, the outside's helping the inside, right? Like it's now they're fighting against something besides just like the other team,
right? They're
fighting the pressure, right? So the more you win, the pressure releases. It's going to work for you. So yeah, I mean, if they lose,
if
they lose one of the next 2, real scary, right? But really, it's like Oklahoma. Like Scott Frost doesn't need to beat Oklahoma to keep his job.
Because there's some people that think he does, which I'm like, what?
No. He needs to beat Indiana, Rutgers, Purdue, and Illinois. That's who he needs to beat.
Right.
And he can't lose these next 2. These next 2 to the scrub team.
If they go lose to North Dakota, then that bet online of -500 might be like, if he goes and loses to North Dakota this weekend, I mean.
Then something's wrong.
Right.
If you're losing those games, you're not coaching right, or something's wrong with your team. So,
but you see that, I think you're with me.
Oklahoma in the end is like, nobody expects us to win that game. So to me, it's those 4 games after Oklahoma that I'm like, that's what I'm looking at.
But I'm just saying that like you got it. The next 4 games. The next 4 games are huge to me. The next 4 games shape the season.
Because Oklahoma, Indiana, that is the turning point of that. Like Scott Frost started October. That's when the buyout language. That's sort of like the like check the temperature.
Yes, right.
Like that's, I don't know. Indiana's a bigger game than
huge.
That's Indiana's big.
I just think, like you talked about, like if you go and lose to one of Notre Dame or Georgia Southern or Indiana at home, like that you talk about the external impacting the internal, like the hot seat is going to get ramped way up.
So that's where losing against Northwestern
was just huge.
With the timeline, because then it puts the pressure becomes the end of the game. Because like, okay, you beat Oklahoma, I think you're good for a while. You can lose the next, but if you lose to Oklahoma and then lose to Indiana, that's 2-3, and October begins.
Then I think he's in trouble.
He's in
big trouble.
He's
and steam is coming out of his shirt.
That's why the loss at Northwestern's huge, because it puts pressure then on,
so
Indiana.
Maybe you're not vibing. The next Purdue. 4 games shape everything
a lot, because then the pressure just,
because in Oklahoma, I'm not saying you have to beat Oklahoma, but Oklahoma presents the opportunity to potentially hit a wave.
Yeah.
Jordan Sig says, and we've talked about this, but does Frost have the capability to let go of the crap he learned at Oregon and move to fundamentally sound football? After this weekend, I honestly don't know if he does. And I honestly don't know after 4 years, can he change?
Crap, like it's not like they didn't play good football.
I think he's more so talking about like
it's philosophy. I think it's
Yeah.
all the philosophy.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. Like,
I mean, they played good football. They won a lot of games. Like the idea is to win. That's how they won. But we talked a lot about philosophy, and the Big Ten is a different philosophy, and it's really hard if you just don't got way more talent in the Big Ten,
right,
to try to do what we were trying to do. And like we never got that talent. So then we're like, okay, and so I think the hard part is we're trying to move away from that. And you kind of got to pick a lane.
It's just hard. I mean, we talked about this with the, rehashing the onside kick. It's just, you would think after 4 years of losing and being on the hot seat that, if that's not going to force you to change or alter some thoughts, like, I don't know what would. But then again, you brought it up, like, at the same time, like, he was the national coach of the year. Like, you go back to, it's easy to have revisionist history. Everybody wanted this dude. That was
just a couple years ago, too.
Just a couple years ago. Florida wanted him.
That thing that you were doing was so good. They said, you're the best in the country. You're the best coach in the country doing that.
Beat LSU, beat Auburn, LSU. Auburn. Beat Auburn. Coach of the year. Could have gone to Florida. Could have gone to Florida State. Had his pick of all the jobs. Could have gone to Tennessee. Like, and you know how he got that? Was doing stuff like onside kicking, doing stuff like being aggressive and going for it, or not running clock and instead play action and throw. Like,
it was just so it was an all-out assault to go fast, like run the people off the field. I mean, it was. Remember his opening press conference? He's like, "We're going to make them adjust to us," and we all loved it because you know what? We thought this is good. This will make us different. Like, I don't want to pretend like I wasn't bought into doing.
Oh, I was all in.
I was all in. Like, I remember, like, he's like, after the first year, he was like, he was excited that he could go as fast as he wanted to go with the offense because the team wasn't in as good enough shape.
Right.
They didn't know the offense well enough. So the year 2, I feel like year 2 against Ohio State was the game where
they were 4-2, I think. Yeah.
Adrian sails that ball, and on the drive that the whole stadium was rocking.
Yeah, they got under center, ran some option.
Wandale was just a little short.
Right.
And it gets tipped and picked.
Right.
And I feel like
everything's kind of gone like
went downhill from that moment. And I don't know what it was, but like everything we were planning on doing didn't work or something
because
from that moment on.
Let me think. Like, you're right. So they finished the final 6 games of the first year 4-2.
Yeah.
Right.
And we felt like it was
I think they started
0-6.
Well, no, I'm saying in 2019
we lost to Colorado because we blew the Colorado game.
Right.
So we won a game, blew Colorado, and then the third or fourth game was Ohio State.
But 2019 they started 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2. They're 4-2. No. They were
3-1,
3-1, and then Ohio State came to town.
So Ohio State.
So there was a period of time where they go 4-2, 3-1. So they went 7-3.
Yeah,
where it kind of felt like and then they lose. Remember they get pummeled by Ohio State. They win a clunker against Northwestern the next weekend where Lieutenant Kicker came out and had to hit a game winner, but then they get murdered at Minnesota. To me, that was the game everything kind of flipped to. And then after that point, I mean, it's a lot of L's. But yeah, it's so I guess the point we were bringing up was like his way of doing things got him to where he is today. I think there's somebody that's like, that crap has never worked. It's like, well, no, it has worked.
It worked for a good chunk of time. I mean, Oregon did it. Oregon and UCF did it for, call it 2009 or 10 till Scott Frost came here in 2017.
Yeah.
I mean, 2018. Yeah.
Right. By the way, do you think Frost ever in a moment of weakness sits at his house and goes, did I make a huge mistake? Like, think Central Florida is going to the Big 12. He could be living in Orlando.
Easy. So the thing about Central
no one gives
Florida,
a crap about Central Florida football, no offense, but like in terms of like scrutiny and
quality of life, that's a better job than Florida Tennessee or Nebraska.
It's like I got the great recruiting base. I can go walk around Orlando and no one's going to hassle me. I'm now in the Big 12. I'm a legend here because I got Central Florida undefeated, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just wonder if there are some moments where he's just like,
oh, everybody thinks about that, but there's a reason why you leave. You leave because you know it's not the top tier, right? You go to the best, you go to the SEC and Big Ten because it's the big time. Like, we're all drawn to be like, I want to know.
Yeah, you want to be at the top of whatever it is.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's hard not.
I just, you know, because when I saw Central Florida's going to Big 12, I was like, man, you wonder if that dude is like. Last mailbag question. And then we'll get to, got some prediction stuff. Man, we're going long here.
I'm out of wine.
I know. What the heck? This is frustrating. Waitress? No waitress here. Okay. Big time Timmy Jim, quite a name. At what point do fans say enough and quit showing up? It has to be close at this point. I can't bring myself to spend the money to go down to a game knowing this is a type of football I'm going to see. At least at home, I can turn the channel for free. I don't know how to give you a specific tipping point, and if it's already there, I would think it's people are probably getting close. I can only speak for. I will say this: if Nebraska loses to one of North Dakota, Georgia Southern, and Indiana, I think you're going to get close to that enough. I saw today Trev on the radio said they still have like almost 3,000 unsold tickets for the Indiana game.
Really?
For me, funny. I think for me, like I don't think I'll ever say enough. I don't know if I ever will.
I know there's like, what's weird is I don't feel that way. Like, I don't feel like to me, it's like, it's built into my life. Like,
right.
I'm always going to be a Nebraska football fan. I'm going to watch every Saturday they play forever. And that's just the way it is. Like, I don't think of it like, if they're not winning enough games, I won't watch them. Like, I don't think like that. I think this is my one team. Like, there's a lot of like leagues. There's NFL, there's NBA, there's college football, college basketball. Like, my one I'll never miss is Nebraska college football. I won't miss games.
Yeah, I just struggle because we talk to people that are there with like, I don't really care if I watch the game this weekend. I can't ever really, I'm not even close to there.
No.
I'm like, not even close.
No.
Because that's what you have. I think there's a lot of people that say they're out, and it's like, you aren't really out unless you truthfully don't want to watch or don't care to watch.
Like, if you're out, does that mean if we got good, you're going to not watch when we get good?
But I'm even saying, like, you don't want to watch the game.
You don't want to watch. Like, I don't understand that. Like the way we've grown up in Nebraska football, like, it's an institution.
That's where
you're from
I'm
Nebraska.
At.
Like, it should be like, you know, like they used to say, like, it's church on Sundays, but it's Saturdays.
It's Saturdays,
like,
yes.
This is built into your life.
Right.
You don't need to think twice about it. You just know you're doing it.
Right. So I don't think the only way I would maybe get close is if there was a coaching change and it was a coach I wasn't super high on and they struggled for a bunch of years.
But see, like,
but even then,
you could
it's
have
like,
said that about Mike Riley. Like, I'm not missing a Mike Riley game.
But yeah, I'm not. All I know is, like you said, you can't really stop and think about what in your life you will alter your life for. The older you get, that becomes less and less. And Nebraska football, watching the game, untouchable for me right now.
Yeah, because I don't remember who I was talking to about this. Maybe it was was it dinner with you,
and
Chris and Willie? But like, we're talking about like, how many teams do you have? Like, because you know, Chris watches the Packers and the Cubs, and like, you know, like I wonder, do people have more than one or two? Like, to me, I got the one. I got Nebraska football.
I got two.
Nebraska football, I never miss. Nebraska basketball, I watch some. Creighton, I watch some, but I'll miss those games.
Yeah, like I can't miss a Nebraska football game and a Creighton basketball.
Yeah. So you got two, which is a lot. How do you have more than that? Right?
I don't know. So I'm not close to, because I think it's easy to be upset and say like, I'm done. But like, you have to really understand, like, for you to be legitimately done, it means you do not want to watch or at all.
Watch or follow at all. You're just saying, I'm done. Like, I think that's
because
so
like
strange.
Right now, someone said you can never watch any more NC State football games. I'd be like, okay. I don't think I've ever watched one other than when Russell Wilson was playing on Thursday nights before he transferred. Like,
But isn't
you know what I'm saying though?
I always believe like this is where I'm such a loyalty guy. Like it runs in my like. There's only a few things you need to be loyal to in your life, right? Like your best friends, your family, your wife, your kids. Like be extremely loyal and be extremely loyal to your team,
right?
Which means that like if it's 10 or 20 years, they're gonna just be in a hole.
Yeah,
like being loyal means you're gonna watch them when they're the worst team in college football or the worst team in the NFL. Like if you're a Jets fan, I hope you still watch them every week, even though the Jets don't win.
Here's the difference is you and I are different in maybe if I had season tickets and I was having to pay a ton of money for it.
Okay, that's a
different thing. Like is it worth investing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars? Because that's what his point was saying. At least at home, I can turn the channel. Like, is it worth me investing thousands and thousands of dollars for season tickets? If you want to pull your investment there, that's an argument.
Okay, that's the argument is the university and the donations. Like it's expensive.
Yes, I can.
That's the argument where if your team doesn't produce, something has to give on that, which means the university probably has to be like, all right, we're going to make this a little bit easier, right? But I don't understand. Like, I'm at home.
It's Saturday. It's 2:30
cable, and I'm not going to watch the game. Like that.
I mean, even this weekend, North Dakota. Like, I am excited to watch that game.
I'm going to the game because it's going to be great. What else are you gonna do?
Well, so I think there's different. Like, if we're talking about being done with it from the standpoint of like I'm not paying for season tickets, that I understand, I guess. But being done means like you do not care, watch at all.
And it's like to me, it's like I almost feel like thankful that I have one team that I'm irrational about.
Right.
I get to be irrational about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Like I get to talk about them all week. I get to stew in these losses. We're doing a podcast that basically that's what we do most of the time is talk Nebraska football.
I'm not so sure. There's also the part of like you've invested so much of your life into something. I'm not so sure if they're in any one thing. If someone said, "What's the one thing you know the most about?" I'd be like, I'd start writing down things. One of the things I'd write down is Nebraska football.
Oh, it's up there.
So if you administered like the Nebraska football IQ test, like I feel like it'd be like this guy is Albert Einstein with Nebraska. Like you know what I mean? You think about how many things
Mensa.
He's Mensa mature.
He's Mensa for Nebraska.
But seriously, like there's also that, like you've invested, it's just you've invested so much time into it and so much energy and emotion into it. I'm just not ready to be like done with it.
It's a part of your life in a way that almost nothing else is. Like if you grew up in Nebraska and you were born before, in the 90s or before, I don't know.
I don't understand.
You don't
see. That's the scary thing. Okay, there you go. The scary thing is if you were born after 1997, or if you were born in 2000,
you're born in the 2000s. I think that's the argument for like,
why do I like this?
Yeah, we lose. Like they've only known losing since they were 10.
Okay, that's where it's like I grew up in a different world than you.
I mean,
I'm not ready to quit.
If you were born before us, there you have no chance. I mean, we don't either. Like when we were 10 years old, we won a national title.
Ooh.
We were spoiled rotten because that's your formative years.
Yes.
10 through 15, we had the best seasons in the history of football almost.
Okay.
Like it's stupid.
I'm going to throw out a stupid idea. You can shoot it down. Okay. Before we get to tipsy predictions.
Woo! Yeah, you know what? See, we need to start our drinking an hour early.
I know.
Now we're
my question for you is, I could literally, this would be terrible. I could walk out of the studio and go get 2 beers that are right out there, and we could drink 2 beers, drink a beer apiece during tipsy predictions.
The wine pod.
Maybe it flies in the face of the wine pod.
No, we gotta just.
Okay. All right. Tipsy prediction times. Yeah. Nebraska Northwestern. The line, according to VegasInsider.com that I checked today, Nebraska's favored by 22.5. North Dakota, a couple of tidbits here I got from the Omaha World Herald. Yeah. Shouts out to the Omaha World Herald. North Dakota has 1 FBS win in its program history, which they beat Wyoming in 2015. The last Power 5 team North Dakota played was Washington in 2018, where they lost 45-3. North Dakota last year went 5-6, but they were close. They were a lot like Nebraska. Frost even joked about this. Again, this is from the Omaha World Herald. Chew on this. North Dakota lost 5. They lost 5 games in FCS play by an average of 4.6 points. Okay. North Dakota also either had the lead or a chance to take the lead in the fourth quarter in 11 games in 2021, but the team lost 5 games by single digits last season, which was the program first. How about that? Their quarterback also led the Missouri Valley Conference in passing yards and completion percentage.
Okay.
So that's a little just setting the stage. My first thought on this game before we get in the official prediction. Any chance for a hangover? Long flight?
Those guys,
a little emotional.
I think there's definitely a chance for what I'd call the first quarter could be like, you know what I'm saying? Like just...
I wrote down better or early energy would be something I'm watching for.
Yeah, I mean, this is for these guys, this is a first time ever thing. Like you're going to another country, switching time zones, coming back, short week. Like it's set up to be kind of a hangover game. Now, it shouldn't matter.
You hope the crowd in the first home game
that should help. I think they could be a little bit slow getting out the gates, but I mean, the reality is like when it comes to these like FCS opponents, like you should take care of business.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's also important. I've always felt in those kinds of games, whenever we played Mississippi Valley State or something like that, the one thing you want to do is remove all hope right away.
Yeah.
Right out the gates.
They will shut down if you put up 20 points in the first, quarter,
first drive, march down the throat,
over.
3 and out, march it down like 14-0, and you just pounded them. Like they'll start to think twice. The one thing you got to think about is like, let's be honest, and this is crazy to say, and it hurts to say. Like, I bet North Dakota's coming here thinking like we could win this game, given how Nebraska's been the last couple of years.
I mean,
I know that hurts.
It hurts to even think that, but the reality is. It's got to take some sort of.
This would be miraculous.
Disastrous miracle for them to beat us.
You would think
if we just play even the game we played against Northwestern, we win.
Yeah,
we could play worse than Northwestern and win. We just can't like give them a couple of cheap like pick six fumbles, like some sort of weird, bizarre like thing to give them a lead, and we feel pressure. Like we can't have that early.
Other thing I wrote down is a big game for the trenches. It's like a big game for both the offensive and defensive line from the standpoint of both those units kind of struggled to a certain extent in the first game. And you want to see Nebraska come out and like it's an FCS opponent. You want to come out like both those units should have a lot of success. Nebraska should be able to run the ball. Now, I was hearing some stuff that North Dakota is a big blitzing team. You should be able to crease them with some runs probably, or like what? I don't know
a ton about North Dakota, but
just in general, a team that blitzes a lot, you're probably vulnerable for some big plays then, right?
Yeah, it's usually boom or bust.
Okay.
But yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know a ton about.
Oh, no. But and then you want to see that pass rush. I mean, I wrote a song called Mathis Got Sacks. Like Mathis needs to get a sack.
Well, he needs the opportunities to like.
Yeah, to your point, you never had like.
I was watching him close last game. It was not.
Did you like what you see? Did you look at his hiney?
He's not.
What'd you think of his hiney when he got in his 3-point stance? Did you like his hiney?
Think about
whose hiney did you like more?
Thinking of
Heinrich Harburg,
and the joke is, hey, get you into my hiney.
If I gave you the choice of Tanner's,
guess what? The wine's out, and you asked me, did you look at his hiney?
Did you check out his hiney? But honestly, though, did you like how he moved? Did you like his hiney?
Nick, I did not.
You didn't look at his hiney?
I did not look at his hiney.
But did you like how he moved?
Not particularly, but he didn't get. He didn't
have opportunities to really like.
It was a no
hit him with the Nick Bahe speed rush,
swim
move.
Nick Bahe
speed rush swim
camp.
Move.
Go Nick Bahe speed rush camp. He didn't get a chance to get his reps there, but this game, I think he'll get a chance to just tee off on people. It'll be a good, sort of like, You know, when like the prize fighters are like warming up for the big fight, they go face like Glass Joe and they just beat the shit out. Like we need to beat the shit out of somebody.
Well, that sounds good, right?
North Dakota is our person.
It would be really nice. You know what Nebraska needs is one of those stress-free, never a doubt from opening kick to final bell, dominate.
Everybody needs to make some big plays to build confidence. So especially the new guys need to see themselves making plays, and you build the confidence. I mean, that's why it sucks. Our first game schedule for the last handful of years has been just not what we needed for a team that hasn't built confidence.
Right.
We need the first 3 games of the year every year should be like Roast Beef State,
Frosted Flakes University,
and freaking
Mayonnaise Tech.
Yeah.
Right. But instead, it's not quite been like that. But no,
we need to build confidence.
It would be really nice to have a game where there's never a doubt.
That's it.
Like first drive, march it down, 3 and out, then punt, score again, 3. You know, like it needs to be that. Just dominate. Do you think? I mean, do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah.
I said 41-17. You got to score. You're feeling?
I think we'll handle this one easy. I mean, like it'll just be like. I mean, like, are they going to guard Trey Palmer? Like, I don't know. Seems like it'd be hard. That's pretty good, isn't it?
You tell me if you've done Trey Palmer just on like a skinny.
Trey Palmer post 6 times in a row. It's gonna work.
What great analysis! Oh,
this should
put you on Big Note and kick off. Yeah. Like, I mean, what do you think? Let's go over to Bo.
This is North Dakota. Trey Palmer.
They're going to guard Trey Palmer. Seems like it'd be pretty hard. Am I right? Am I right, Matt Leinart?
I'll take the Huskers.
Hey, Urban Meyer. What do you think?
Hey, Urban, what do you think?
What do you think, huh? It seems like it'd be pretty hard to guard him.
I think Urban might be like, I think you're right.
I think you're right. I talk to my guys about that all the time. It's hard to guard guys that can run really fast. But yeah, like Trey Palmer is going to be superior athletically.
I mean, that's where as much
my man's got the mouthpiece. Just like, I mean, that thing is just. I mean, put your mouthpiece in. Let's see if he puts his mouthpiece in.
But I mean, Nick, we got a stable of running backs that are all like, we're trying to find the guy. I think there's going to be a couple of them that are going to have good games. They're going to have places to run. Like these guys should build some confidence by being able to make some runs against.
Right. I think you might see Ramir this weekend.
Yeah.
I think you might see Gabe Irvin this weekend. And then hopefully you see a lot of these guys because it's a blowout and you're getting a lot of guys in there.
And Grant, like between those 4, like somebody start making
AJ Allen too. Yeah. I mean, AJ played in the Northwestern game. But yeah, I think they're going to play. I think they're going to play well. I think they will.
If they don't, like, it's just like I don't even know what I'll say if they don't play. Like, I mean, obviously they got to win, but like,
right. But at some point, but if we're doing the recap pod and it's like it was 21-20.
If we eke one out, like,
I mean, it's like it's worse than the alternative. But at the same time, like at some point, you got to start like, you know, building it, and like Trev said, you got to see some progress.
Yeah,
like got to start getting it going a little.
It's a young team. I think they'll find their footing in this game.
I think so. So I'm going 41-17, and in the words of Bo Ruud, are they going to guard Trey Palmer? Seems like it'd be pretty hard. Okay. That's what it would be. Okay, we've gone long enough, my friend. Maybe we have one after we turn off the mics. I don't know. But this wine was delish. Big shouts out to Go Currency for sponsoring the wine pod.
Yeah.
This was fun. We're going to be doing this every
Wednesday.
week, baby.
Yeah,
every Wednesday.
We're doing it.
So make sure you are ready for recap pod. Okay. Yep. We're doing recap pod after the North Dakota game. We'll probably tape on Sunday. You good for Sunday or you want to go?
For Sunday, I'm predicting Trey Palmer.
Trey Palmer is
3 touchdowns. He's hard to guard.
According to you, he's hard to guard. He's going to have 3 touchdowns. So there you go. Okay. Let's go get him. Let's go.